Alright, what's good everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a camera comparison between the OnePlus 13 and the S25 Ultra. The S25 Ultra is a flagship phone, whereas the OnePlus 13 is a flagship killer. I feel like it is a flagship level phone, but the camera system is obviously not going to be as good as a pure flagship. To throw in a surprise at the end, I'm also going to be comparing these two camera systems to the Nothing Phone 2A. Watch the whole video so you can see how a flagship versus a flagship killer versus a budget phone compare in camera quality. So let's get straight into the video comparison. This is going to be video shot inside the house, so not the most ideal lighting situations. You can see bright lights, but trust me, the lighting is not good. And yeah, for the most part, I feel like they're pretty comparable images when it comes to video quality. But the S25 Ultra, in my opinion, has more detail in general. If you zoom in closer, you have a lot more to work with. The color balance is also more accurate to what I saw with my eyes, whereas the OnePlus 13 is kind of given like a yellowish style, and it's just more contrasty. It looks more stylized. The other thing to note with video is that the 5x on the S25 Ultra doesn't take in light that much, so it's going to be a lot darker than the other cameras. So now let's get into the photos. As you can see, some photos of my bunny, and I just want to see how they compare in taking images of her moving around and stuff like that, because you know the Samsung phones have always struggled with motion, and I feel like it did a pretty decent job. The front of her head is always going to be like very soft and lack of detail, because that's just hard. Even with iPhones and Pixels, they're never able to actually capture that. So I feel like both phones did a pretty good job, and you can see the difference in philosophy and processing for both of these phones. The OnePlus 13 tends to overly sharpen things and put higher contrast on the images, whereas the S25 Ultra this year tries to tone it down and make it a little bit more natural. So here I was just trying to test out how close I can get to the subject with the cameras, and the OnePlus 13 had to use the magnification to get as close to the Galaxy, but it can go even closer, I think, with the macro mode. And here's some portrait shots of my daughter sitting on the ground. You can see both of them can blur out the subject, but I just prefer the way the Galaxy is producing images. I feel like it's more natural looking, and it just gives you more room for editing. Whereas the OnePlus 13, as you can see in this image, the ultra wide, it's just very contrasty. One thing I will say is that both of these camera systems look pretty consistent across all the cameras in terms of the color science and the color grading and stuff like that. The natural processing of the built-in software, I feel like, is pretty consistent across all the cameras, so that is pretty good. Usually, phone cameras differ a lot. Yeah, they do a pretty good job here. And then as you can see with the cat, just trying to capture the motion, and I think again it's very comparable, but I do feel like the Galaxy has a little more detail and might even be doing a better job. And I feel like it goes back and forth with the capturing the motion. And now here, I think my daughter's skin looks more realistic on the S25 Ultras. The minimal focus distance is definitely closer for the S25 Ultra, so you'll see some images the OnePlus 13 just can't focus. And here me just testing out the zoom in the dark. And one advantage I've seen with the OnePlus 13 so far is that it's able to use night mode, or it automatically uses night mode for the zoom cameras, whereas with the S25 Ultra, it wasn't using night mode for the zoom cameras. Though I think you can do that manually, but it doesn't really work automatically. So the OnePlus 13 will take better looking images on the surface with the zoom cameras in lower light situations. Again, it's just showing the difference in how they process photos. The OnePlus 13 is boosting the contrast a lot and sharpening, whereas the S25 Ultra is more natural. And I feel like when phone cameras boost the sharpness and the contrast, they're trying to compensate for not being able to capture as much quality. And when it's more natural looking, it's because the camera system is really good, or like the processing believes in the camera system a little more. That's how I feel about it, and I think you can see that in these images. But again, both of them do a good job. Here with the light, the OnePlus 13 is just faster at capturing a more HDR shot, managing the exposure better. I think it's faster in that regard, but at the end of the day, very similar when you actually focus. Selfie shots, pretty similar. I think the OnePlus 13 actually got the more natural looking shot and realistic skin tone. And now here is where I test the zoom again, and there's different focus points. And as we get closer to the Hot Wheel car, you'll see the zoom camera of the S25 Ultra kind of shine through a little bit. It has more detail, and the 3x is good, but then beyond 3x is just digital crops, because they put a high megapixel sensor into the zoom camera and then try to allow you to crop in further and further, whereas the Galaxy has a 3x and then a 5x, and I think it kind of pays off in these photos, but obviously it's still pretty negligible. But you can honestly be good with either one of these camera systems. As you can see here, very similar images, but I think the 25 Ultra just looks more natural and has slightly better details. Yeah, now here's where it's interesting. So I was actually struggling to focus the OnePlus 13 for a lot of these shots, and it wanted to use the magnification mode or the macro mode to get these type of photos, which would result in lower quality images. And here's just showing the focus. It was very bad. Whereas with the Galaxy, I was able to focus pretty easily. If I want to focus, I had to back up with the OnePlus. And then, yeah, so at a similar zoom, the OnePlus is using the magnification, whereas the Galaxy is not, and it just has better details for the S25 Ultra. And then the S25 Ultra's ultra-wide camera can also go closer than the OnePlus 13's, and it produces a really good image, especially with the 50 megapixels. And then here, just, you know, testing out how it would process different types of sceneries and stuff like that. And I think it goes back and forth, but I do prefer what the Galaxy is doing. I was trying out portrait mode for these shots, and it's kind of what I've been saying this whole video so far. I feel like the Galaxy just produces a cleaner and more natural looking image, whereas the OnePlus 13 is yellowish and it's using digital software to kind of sharpen. This is just me showing that the S25 Ultra can go closer, and also you can see the difference in the background when you switch between 3x and 5x. Yeah, some different 5x shots, just showing it off, and that's something that the OnePlus 13 can't do. It can't do 5x portrait mode. So here is where I'm throwing in the Nothing Phone 2A. This is a budget phone, and I wanted to kind of go from flagship to flagship killer to budget phone, just to give you an idea across all the budget ranges, or at least some of the budget ranges for different phones and camera systems. You know, how do these devices perform and compare against each other? And like, do you need to necessarily spend, you know, a lot of money for a good camera system, or can you be good with something that costs like $300, you know? So that's why I wanted to compare, or throw the Nothing Phone 2A into this comparison. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think the Nothing Phone 2A is doing? It doesn't have a zoom camera. It only has an ultra wide and a normal wide angle camera. So any zoom shots, it's all digital. I feel like 1x shots from the Nothing Phone 2A actually look really good. And to be honest, I might even prefer some of the shots more than some of the OnePlus 13 shots. I feel like Nothing just has really good processing with their images, and it looks pretty clean and natural. Whereas, again, the OnePlus 13, it doesn't look bad at all, but it definitely has a specific style. And I actually like that style, but not always when I'm just shooting, you know, day-to-day stuff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How did the Nothing Phone 2A do against these two top-tier phones? So that was all for this video. Stay tuned for more videos. Make sure you subscribe because I got a lot more in the tank. But we out for now. Peace.